Hey, I'm Sour and I'm making videos with Hardstyle production while pretending this doesn't hurt my actual Hardstyle production. And today we are doing part 3 of our beginner series for total beginners with no experience whatsoever. Here we go. So today's video we are diving into sound design and maybe a little bit of mixing if there is time. So sound design is the art of actually making your own sounds. While for beginners I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting into this because it's way better, I feel like, to first start out with professionally made sounds for plugins or whatever. This can get expensive really quickly, because the plugins those sounds get made into often are quite expensive. So we are going to use the free stuff so everyone can follow along. Now there is a host of different synthesizers, but I'm gonna stick to Vital. The reason why I stick to Vital is because Vital is very visual, which is very nice if you start to explain stuff to beginners. But all of them work pretty much the same way, so don't stress it. So to actually get started with sound design, I'm gonna start out with the basic plug. So I'm gonna get our chords in there, so I'm gonna copy the chords by just going to select it, Ctrl C, going to go to a fresh pattern by scrolling, gonna go to Vital, Ctrl V. Now we have our chords in there. So the first thing we're gonna make is a Sawpluck. And a Sawpluck is a really simple but very versatile sound. So the first thing you need is a saw wave. And luckily that is what it's showing up right there. Every synthesizer works in the same way in the sense that you have generators and you have modifiers. So your oscillators tend to be the generators. This is where the actual sound you hear gets made. So in this case oscillator 1 creates our saw wave and that's what you actually hear. Everything else are modifiers, and these modifiers work in two different categories. You have the effects, which is like distortion, EQ, compression, whatever, the same stuff you got in the mixer. And the actual modifiers are things that change stuff over time. You've got envelopes, and these control stuff over the length you press a note. So for example, envelope 1 is linked to the volume, and if I turn the attack open and press a note, you hear the volume ramping up. And if I turn the release open, the moment I start to let go, you still hear it ringing for a couple of seconds. See? It's not that hard. So I'm going to turn the attack down and we're going to turn the release also down. And this creates a very nice saw bass. And if you play notes, you've made your first actual bass. Well done. For making a plug, we need to change something over time to either dial down the volume or a filter. And I'm gonna go for the filter, because with a filter you can get a very soft sound, which is pretty nice. So I'm gonna turn on the filter by just turning it on. I'm gonna grab envelope 2, because envelope 2 is not linked to the volume, and we're gonna drag this to the cutoff, which is this thing in Vital. You can dial the range in with this, and I like to turn this peak down as well, because it makes it a bit hard on the ears. And now if I play it, nothing changed. And that's because I need to actually turn down the envelope to make it do what I want it to do. So I'm going to turn the sustain down and I'm going to play with the tension a bit. And now you can hear, actually I should open the release a bit, because right now if I release a note, it clicks. And if you turn the release just a tiny bit open, you notice that the ticks get less and less severe. If you now play with the cutoff there, you get a quite nice warm plug. And if you play chords or whatever, a bit higher, you have a nice starter plug. So I don't think I'm going to use the envelope for this actually. I'm going to go with an LFO. And LFOs are a lot like envelopes, but with one major difference. They repeat on a certain frequency. So in this case, for example, LFO1 repeats on a half beat kind of frequency. So if I drag this LFO to the same cutoff filter right there, and I'm going to turn this to the roughly the same range. And if I now start playing the chords, this shape just gets repeated over and over, which is pretty close, but we don't want this shape to repeat over and over. We want a different shape with a different speed. So we're going to turn the shape into something more like this. So like this, for example, would probably do the trick. And we're going to turn the frequency to either 1/4 or 1/8, depending on your taste. So 1/4 sounds like this. Pretty cool. And 1/8 sounds like this. Now this is a basic plug. You can of course make it sound way cooler by, for example, adding another oscillator. Maybe transpose it to 1 octave higher, so let's say 12 semitones up right there. Maybe make sure that the filter actually works on oscillator 2, so turn it on right there. And what you can also do is you can turn on the voices to make it a bit more wide. I'm gonna get a bit more deep into the voice with another sound a bit later, so no worries. But this is your basic Supersawer plug. Hey you, are you tired of melody packs where just about anyone can freely use the melody you call dibs on because that's apparently not how those packs work? Are you sickened by the thought of awesome melodies that need to be shared with the entire fucking world? And are you getting dizzy by the thought of those dirty non-premium melody packs that have no artificially limited supply and get shared with all the fucking peasants? Have no fear, the best thing in the world is here. Premium melody packs. These packs only have 50 copies each and feature 10 fully layered melodies so good I legally cannot show them in a demo video as love potions are prohibited by the Geneva Convention. Involuntary Viagra, which is what my doctor calls my packs, is too unethical to release in the general public. But you are masculine and strong enough to use these for good. Be one of the only 50 people in the entire fucking planet with this melody pack. Get inspired by melodies so rare, only 49 other people have even heard them. They're also categorized in raw and euphoric, so we can guarantee, no matter your political bias, you can find a pack that really suits your vibe. Unlock panty dropping melodies and get your copy before they actually run the fuck out. So we're gonna start with our actual first lead. So I'm gonna go at one more vital, and actually let's clone this a couple of times because I'm honestly just quite lazy. So 1, 2, 3 should be fine. I'm gonna look for our melody. Where is it? There it is. Ctrl C, go to pattern 4. I'm gonna go to our second free vital. We're gonna paste it in there, Ctrl V. So the first lead I'm going to show you how to make is a noise lead. And a noise lead is where instead of your LFO controlling whatever, you get a noise profile to control the tone of your pitch. That sounds quite complicated, but it is easier than you think. In Vital you have these randomized things, and if you speed them up, it's pretty much white noise. So you're going to drag this random thing to the pitch, which is right there, and you're going to play it. So this sounds like shit, and that's because of a couple of reasons. First one is the frequency. This is far too slow, and if I turn it to there, again still far too slow. If you click on this, you can turn this measurement into seconds instead of tempo or whatever. So with this you have way finer control over the actual speed. But before we actually get into that, we need to change something else. If you go to the matrix, we have this bipolar thing. If you click on this, it will make sure that no matter your range, or like no matter what you throw on there, it tries to keep the center point on the original pitch. So without and with, which is roughly around the same note that we used to have. So now we're going to speed this up a bit, and we're going to turn the amount down by a lot. Now something really important to actually tell you, sound design is a lot of trial and error, and something more important, tiny differences make all the difference. So tiny changes, for example, like a 0.01, if it would be like a 0.04 or whatever, it would sound totally different. And same for this amount, like right now it's at 18.55, if I would turn it to 14, it would sound totally different. And the more you put on there, the heavier it gets, the differences. So I'm going to turn the release down a bit because this is way too much for an actual choppy, punchy lead. And of course you can customize it, but this would be your basic noise lead. What I do like, however, is adding a bit of distortion. So if you go to effects, you can go to distortion, you can turn it on. And now you can just play with these settings a bit until it sounds nice. But this would be our first noise lead. Congratulations, you made your first fucking hardstyle lead. Well done. The second one we're going to make is a nice heavy bass. And it's pretty cool because I have a little bit of a shortcut for that. We're going to clone the noise lead like this. Cool. We're going to clone the melody. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V. We're going to make sure that this follows the bass line. And that's really easy. Just Ctrl A, go to Tools, go to Limit. And you can turn the range down to like one note. Accept. And now it's all one note. So if you make this follow the bass line, just moving it around, so selecting with the Ctrl Shift, Shift arrow key down, Ctrl select whatever, Shift arrow key down, until you follow the actual bass line, like this. If we now turn it 1 octave lower, quite a nice bass. I'm gonna move it over to the actual chords by Alt arrow key up, and I'm gonna play a bit with making it a bit wider. This wider thing that I mentioned a couple of times is the amount of times this saw wave gets played, essentially, with tiny differences. So if you turn it on to, let's say, 6 or whatever, it will get played 6 different times at the same moment, but with all slight differences. And this makes it sound a bit wider. And with this percent thing, you can decide how far they sound alike or how much difference there is. If it sounds quite alike, it doesn't really sound wide, but if you turn it back, say, to there, it sounds really wide. But the wider it sounds, the more off key it sounds. So I reckon to keep it around 20%. And this is our bass. I am going to add something to our noise now, because I feel like this is nice, but I want there to be more high end. So what you can do for that, you're going to turn Oscillator 2 on, like this. We're going to send our random thing to the pitch again. We're going to go to matrix, and we're going to go bipolar and set the range to roughly the same. So that was what the other one was 18.55. This is 18 point whatever. This sounds like shit because you have 2 of the same sounds playing at the same time. That's just shit. But if you turn this pitch down up with 12, which is like 1 octave, you can get a bit more high end in. And of course you need to play a lot with the settings. Okay, I'll be honest, this didn't work out. That's okay, sound design is a lot of trial and error, so I'm gonna turn this off and it's like no harm done. However, I might try to get some more high end with the distortion, and you can use this pre or post filters and this shape to kind of like boost the high end, for example, more. Good enough. So the second lead we're going to make is a Supersaw. And a Supersaw is a very, very widely used sound in hardstyle. So we're going to send our bass rhythm to this new vital lead. And we're going to make chords with this in the rhythm of the melody. The reason for this is because you can add a lot of power and kind of like harmony to your leads by doing this. So we're going to make the chords real quick, which is pretty easy, just moving stuff around. And if you don't know how to make chords, you haven't watched episode 1. Do that. And we're going to transpose the whole thing until it sounds fresh. So in the actual vital, we're going to do 2 simple things. We're going to turn on Oscillator 2. We're going to make it a bit higher, so 12 notes again. And we're going to turn on the voices to anything above 6, honestly. And then you're going to play with the D tune until it sounds nice. Also, you can see that this meter is in the red, so we're going to turn the volume down by just dragging this down a bit. And that is your basic Supersaw. Sound design doesn't have to be complicated, right? And combined with your lead, it sounds like this. I'm gonna show you to make one more lead just because we're in the flow. So we're gonna copy this lead, paste it there, and we're gonna make a... Let's do an LFO lead. So we're gonna go to LFO, we're gonna drag it to the pitch. We're gonna go to the matrix, we're gonna set it to bipolar, and we're gonna turn the amount down a bit. We're gonna turn the frequency up, and we're gonna make this shape into maybe a triangle actually. Turn the amount down. So let's turn this to seconds and let's make it a bit faster. Now of course you can use different shapes. Maybe a square works really well. We'll figure it out. Yeah, this works nice. Let's make it a bit more special by adding an envelope and let's drag this to the pitch. A lot goes to the pitch. In the matrix, we're going to leave bipolar off and we're going to make this envelope into a very short, punchy thing. And this adds a pitch attack. So if you turn it down a bit, it sounds a bit more punchy, which can be nice. Maybe distortion. And this can be your nice Pulselead. Okay, so let's send everything to the mixer and let's actually start to do some mixing. These are our plucked chords, so let's name these something like this. This is our bass, so let's name our bass something like this. And let's name our leads something appropriate, like Yeah, I think this makes sense for our naming, right? So we're gonna send everything to the mixer by selecting everything, go to the mixer, let's find a nice empty spot, so right there for example, right click, channel routing, starting from this track. These are like instruments, so let's move into the instruments. And these are the leads. So for the actual lead mixing, we need to do something else. We need to go to an empty channel, right click, rename a color, let's name this lead, buzz, and let's give it a random color. Pressing F2 and then pressing enter gives it a random color. And we're gonna make sure all of these sounds, all of these leads are gonna go to this one channel, so we can apply a lot of effects to all of them at once, which has a ton of advantages. So we're gonna just select all of these, and we're gonna right click this arrow, and route to this track only. Now everything that we will apply to this channel will be applied to all of these leads. This will not only save you a lot of time, but this will also save you a lot of CPU. So if your PC isn't built for NASA or whatever, this will probably save your ass. We're gonna name two other channels. Let's call this one Reverb. Let's give it a color. Do another one called Delay, the color. And for now we're gonna leave them off because that's for later an issue. On the actual lead bus we wanna do a couple of things. One of them is just adding an EQ with a low cut. And a low cut can be like very hard or kind of soft like I do. And you can leave this around 150 to 200 Hertz. Let's make it a bit sharp so you can actually see what the fuck I'm doing. And let's move this to, right now it says 200 roughly. So to actually shape your leads, what you need to do is you need to play with the volume. And I know it sounds anticlimactic, but it is true. Like most of mixing is just playing with the volume. You gotta think about it, right? Interface design is super important for anything with an interface. And there is a reason why FL Studio, but most other DAWs as well, have like half of the screen space be dedicated to either monitoring or controlling the volume. There is a reason for that. There is a reason why your effects vault is all the way to fuck off nowhere and your volume is right in the fucking center. We can drag this down until you kind of hear one lead. So if you hear one lead over everything else, so for example, I hear this Kevin lead, you can turn it down a bit. Now I can hear the Supersawer, so. And this is a very careful process, right? You can do a lot of individual processing. So for example, in the Supersawer, I want to have a bit more high end. So I'm gonna add a parametric EQ2, and I'm gonna boost the high end a tiny bit while also getting rid of the low end a bit. Never do this in solo, by the way. Like, you want to make sure everything sounds good together. So if you do this in solo, you are a fucking idiot. This is fine. On your lead bus, you can do a lot of things. You can compress it, you can whatever. But we're gonna keep it simple. We're gonna go at one fruity wave shaper, and this is gonna glue all the layers a bit together. We're gonna just make it a slight curve, and we're gonna do this before the EQ, because distortion adds frequencies, and we don't want to add frequencies after we add a low cut, because then you have again low end to cut away, which is just a waste of time. So first distortion, then EQ. We're gonna send the lead bus to our reverb channel and to our delay channel. I'm gonna turn the reverb on and not the delay yet, because that's gonna sound like ass. And before we can do anything else, we need to make sure that we didn't duplicate the sound, because right now the lead bus goes to the master and the reverb and delay. So if you play everything at once right now, the lead will be 3 times as loud, which is a pain in the ears. So let's go to the reverb and let's add a reverb plugin. And before we do anything else, we're gonna turn the dry all the way down. Now we have only reverb on this channel. We're gonna turn the wetness up a bit. We're gonna turn the decay time a bit up. Decay decides how long your reverb sounds, and wetness decides how badly someone wants you. We're gonna add a low cut a tiny bit. We're gonna add some early reflections because it makes it sound a bit more natural. A bit more damp. Maybe a bit more cross, I don't know. Cool. And let's assume you like it now. To make this actually blend into your song, we're gonna add a fruity limiter. And fruity limiter can do something that is more advanced, but also really important. So we're gonna go to compression and we're going to sidechain. Sidechain is the art of pressing a signal down by using another signal. So if you go to there and find lead bus, we can use this lead to make sure that the reverb gets pressed down when the lead plays. So you get a very clean separation between the two. So we're going to turn the threshold down, which dictates from what loudness your compression should work. We're going to compress it with the ratio to turn it down like this. And if you turn the release down a bit as well, you get this. All the purple things is where the leads are playing, and all the beige thingies is where the actual reverb is playing. And with this you can get a very clean separation. I don't quite like the sound yet, so I'm going to play a bit with the settings more. It's better-ish. Now we're also going to do the same for the delay. So again, the lead goes to the delay. On the delay we're going to add a delay plugin, and before we do anything else we're going to drag the dry all the way down. We're going to add a fruity limiter with the same settings as the other one, so compression, sidechain, lead bus, threshold down, ratio up, and release a bit sharper. For the delay we're going to go to ping pong, which makes it go left-right. We're going to turn the pan to one way or the other, and this makes sure that the ping pong actually goes left-right. Let's turn the level down a tiny bit. And now to actually mix everything in, we're going to use these channel faders, because it's really easy and very quick to see what you're doing. So while these leads do not sound like a pro level yet, they are very workable, and I feel like this is a very nice introduction to get started with sound design. So we're going to do one more thing to make this all blend in nice. So we pasted it right there, but what you need to do as well is we need to blend this in, because right now this transition is quite hard. We're going to go to the reverb bus, we're going to add a Edison, I call it Thomas. We're going to press record, and we're going to just record us listen to the first note. So we're going to go there, press space, and press space again. Now we recorded just the reverb, we're going to press stop, we're going to drag it in. We're going to double click it, we're going to go to reverse, and we're going to go to declick and generic. Right now we can paste this right here, and we can cut it off with this. And declicking just makes this kind of fade out. Then we're going to loop this by double clicking in this dark bar and dragging it over the length of what you want to do. So we're going to do this the last two bars before the melody kicks in. Double click, we're going to go to pan, right click, automation clip. Now if you double click on this, you get settings for your automation clip. And we're going to do an entire episode of automation clip because it is really important. But for now, just know if you double click an automation clip, you can see an LFO. LFOs we know for making the sounds or whatever, so click it, now you see a saw wave, sorry, a triangle. With tension you can make it into a sine. You can turn the amount up a bit, so like this for example. And we're going to automate the speed. So like this. We're just going to make it slow down a tiny bit at the end, like this for example. And this creates a very nice fade in. So before I show you the end result, I should tell you I have a lot more videos like this on my channel, so you should probably subscribe and ring the bell notification so you don't miss future uploads. Also, let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about in future videos, because it helps me a lot to actually know what you guys want to see. If you want one-to-one video call sessions with me, where I can help you get your projects to the next level, hit me up on Fiverr and see what I can do for you. If you plan to get 5 lessons or more, the first lesson will be free. I hope to see you there, because that's one of my favorite things about making music. If you want to join a Discord full of passionate people that also make music and probably should go outside more, check the link in the description, because I run my own Discord server and it is super nice. Hope to see you there. With all that being said, it was a pleasure to be your host once again. Until we meet again.